welcome to another Literature Tuesday, our hashtag Lit Tuesdays, and we're excited to be talking about brand new fiction today. And I have a few different books that I actually haven't read, and they're just totally new. They just got on our shelves in our new fiction section, so we're going to read a little bit of each one to see if we're interested. So, yeah, we're excited.
Maybe I'll actually read an adult fiction book.
Yeah. Well, if we start and you just are really intrigued, you might have to. So we have 3 different ones. I picked one called You Lucky Dog, and I mostly picked it because it has these cute dogs on the front. And then one called The Switch that I thought was kind of sounded interesting, switching places. And this one, Aria. And it has a review from Margaret Atwood, so maybe kind of a mysterious one for us. So what one do you think we should start with?
I think the dogs, because if you see this cover, it has a leash, but the leashes are shaped as hearts.
It's so cute. I had to pick it. So we'll see what we think. I'll just start at the very first page, read a couple pages, and we'll give you our thoughts.
I'm calling it The Owners Fall in Love.
Oh, probably. I bet you're right. We'll see. Okay, so the first chapter. One day in Austin, Texas. In a central part of town, a man with demonstrably limited ambition, one only needs to see how much time he spends playing video games, collects the dogs he walks 3 times weekly. There are 7 altogether, 2 basset hounds, a lab, 2 medium-sized dogs of questionable heritage, a beagle mix, and a dachshund that struggles to keep up. The man, Brant, loads the dogs into the back of his 10-year-old Toyota 4x4, drives down to the shores of Ladybird Lake, leashes up the dogs, and walks them on the heavily trafficked Butler hike and bike trail. He likes this particular route because there are other dogs and access points for the big dogs to swim. The dachshund is afraid of water. Also, there's a spot just under the Fluker pedestrian bridge where Brant usually can sell enough weed to get through the week. He's noticed a new guy hanging around his business location on their last couple of outings, and today the new guy saunters over. When Brant asks what's up, the new guy says, "I'm visiting in town and looking for a friend." Brant doesn't want to ask what that means, because he feels like he ought to know. Cool, he says. But then another thought occurs to him, an unsavory thought, and he takes a step backward and says, "What kind of friend?" "Depends," the new guy says. "What have you got?" "Ah, that kind of friend." Still, Brant is mildly confused because he is not a grocery store and people generally know what they want. But he's relaxed because he had a little toke earlier and this is Austin and everybody smokes weed and everyone is cool with everyone. Well, except the new guy, turns out. New guy is a cop, which Brant discovers after he makes a pretty good sale and what he thinks is a really funny joke about dogs and weed. That's when 2 squad cars roll up and the dogs start barking, and the new guy reads him his Miranda rights. "Come on, man," Brant complains to the officer who cuffs him. "At least let me call my buddy to take the dogs home."
That's totally nowhere near where I think this was going.
I know. I thought it was going to be a dog romance, which it still might be.
It still might be. Should we put the last until the next page where it completely finishes it off?
Should we? Do you want to? Okay, I'll keep going. Okay. In Old West Austin, just east of Terrytown, a woman in a blue sedan in desperate need of an oil change rockets down the gravel drive to a cottage tucked behind a much larger house. The cottage was once a carriage house. Then it was occupied by a coven of witches or hippies or maybe even Matthew McConaughey. It depends on who you talk to. And then renovated into sleek urban sophistication by the Californians who bought the property and now rent it out for an outrageous amount. Carly has been stuck in traffic and really must avail herself of the facilities. She bangs through the door, leaves her key dangling from the lock, and abandons her overstuffed tote bag in the entry. She is trying desperately to untie the strange but fashionable wraparound jumpsuit with the billowing sleeves she is wearing. But in her rush, she draws up short and stares into the living area. She doesn't comprehend what she is seeing. Her eyes simply cannot reconcile the sight of the dog on the couch with her brain. It's not that she doesn't have a dog, she does. It's not that she doesn't have a basset hound, she does. But she doesn't have that basset hound. That is an imposter basset hound, an imposter so miscast in its role that it is on her couch eating one of her expensive throw pillows without an ounce of remorse, as telegraphed by the enthusiastic banging of its tail against the cushions. That dog is a mystery, but in that moment, Carly must make a necessary decision. She dashes off to answer the call of nature. Hours later, on a leafy street a couple of blocks from the woman's house, in another Old West Austin home that has withstood the onslaught of modernization and McMansioning that is going on around town, a university professor bangs through the side entrance with his arms around another university professor he's had a few drinks with tonight. Though his thoughts have turned to a slushy, boozy mess, he does notice that his dog is in the mudroom with her head pressed in the corner where the walls meet. He notes that her food bowl has not been touched, and her favorite chew toy, the longhorn with the 2 missing horns, is on the other side of the room. This is strange behavior for his otherwise enthusiastic and friendly dog, but Max assumes she is pouting because he is home late. Well, sue him. He watches out for his dad and his brother on top of a full-time teaching job and 2 massive research projects, and sometimes a person develops an itch that needs to be scratched. Okay, that's it. And that's just like the
That's the
part.
pre.
Then it goes to
the
chapter
chapters.
1. Yeah, that wasn't even a chapter.
So there's
Okay.
multiple people in this story.
It's kind of interesting, yeah. I wonder if, like, the drug dealer thing was just a way for everybody's dogs to get lost, and now it's going to tell all those stories about the dogs being
mixing
found.
together.
And then people will probably fall in love.
That might be it. So maybe this guy was just like the little accident that was like the universe like coming together and be like, okay, well, you're a basset hound and you're a basset hound, because it looks like they're the same dogs there.
Yeah, it's true.
And so the professor and this woman are gonna meet, and then they fall in love.
Sounds fun.
That's what I mean. The whole first paragraph of them at the dog park, it was just like,
I
I need to hear more.
surprised. Like, I was not expecting the drugs, and then I was not expecting it to be a police officer. So
he's gonna get arrested.
it has twists and turns for sure. It's not your typical, like, romance story. So
I'm totally digging it. So if we had to rate this one, how many would we give it so far for what we...
Yeah, just for, like, our first impressions, I feel like maybe a 4.
Maybe a 4.
A 4 out of 5 coffee cups, because it was not what I expected. And it was cute, kind of fun, funny. What would you give it?
I think it would be a 4 as well. Like, I mean, it made me ask you to read some more.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
I needed to know what happened next. So I thought that his story would continue. Like, I'd be interested to be like, well, who did he call? How did he get back? So, does he come out of jail? Like, what goes on here? Like, how is nobody calling him? Be like, hey, these aren't my dogs. Like, I need to know more about that.
Yeah. Huh. Pretty cool. Okay, now you can read one. What one do you want to do?
I think I'll do the switch, because
Okay.
that one was, like, very intimidating.
Ooh, okay. Do that one.
So this one is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. Right here, it's a cute little cover. Like, nice colors on it.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder what it's going to be about. It says, can changing places change your life? Which, I mean, it could. You could be used to your same old routine that you have, where you've been or where you grew up or something like that, and you just go somewhere else. It forces you to be like,
That's true.
well, I need to do something different. So this one starts off as Lena. I think we should swap, I tell B, bobbing up into a half squat so I can talk to her from over my computer screen. I am breaking it. You should do the start and then I'll do the end. That way by the time it gets to me, I'll be less, I wave my hands to convey a mental state. You'll be less jazz hands, B says, tilting her head to the side. Come on, please. Lena, my dear friend, my guiding light, my favorite pain in the ass. You are much better than I am starting presentations, and we are not switching the order of things. 10 minutes before your key client stakeholder update. Just like we didn't switch at the last program board, or the one before that, or the one before that, because that would be madness, and quite frankly, I haven't had the bloody clue on what's going on in the open slides. I sag back into my chair. Right, yes, I balled up again. Only this time I'm really feeling... B says, not looking over her screen. Absolutely worst ever, shaking sweaty palms, the lot. Only as soon as you get in there, you'll be charming and brilliant, as you always are, and nobody will notice a thing. But what if you won't? B, I really think I know you won't do it. But this time, only 8 minutes to go, Lena. Try the breathing thing. What breathing thing? B pauses. Breathing. Oh, just normal breathing? I thought you meant like some kind of meditative technique. She snorts at that. There's a pause. You've coped with way worse than this 100 of times over, Lena, she says. I wince, comfy in my coffee cup between my palms. The fear sits in the hollow at the base of the ribs, so it's real. It really feels physical. A stone, a knot, something that you could cut with a knife. I know, I say, I know I have. You just need to get into your mojo back, B tells me, and only way to do that is to stay in the ring. Okay, come on. You are Lena Cotton, the youngest senior consultant in this business. The Salmonth Consulting, one to watch 2020, and she lowers her voice. Soon, one day, co-director of your own business. Yes. Yes, only I don't feel like Lena Cotton. B's watching me now, her pencil brows drawn tight to the center with concern. I close my eyes and will the fear away, and for the moment, it works. I feel a flicker of the person I was a year and a half ago, and the person who would have flown through this presentation like this without letting her touch. You ready, B, Lena? The CSO's assistant calls as he makes his way across the Upco office floor. I stand, my head lurches, waves a nausea hit. I grab the edge of the desk. Shit, this is new. Are you okay? B whispers. I swallow and press my hands to my chest until my wrists start to ache. For the moment, I don't think I can do it. I just don't have it in me. God, I'm so tired. But then, at last, the grit kicks in. Absolutely, I say. Let's do this. Well then.
Okay.
Interesting.
I feel like it reminds me of a Hallmark movie.
Yes, that's definitely like the feelings like I was getting.
Yeah.
I was like, I get the like nervousness because I know I've had that feeling before, and it's like, okay, totally relatable. Definitely like, well, sure, you don't want to do it, but it definitely has a Hallmark feel to it.
Yeah. And how she's like an important person in her job, and then I don't know. I just feel like that's how all the Hallmark movies are.
They
like
start
the
off
women
with-
are just like strong, which is awesome. But then they just are like work too hard, and then they find the guy that makes them not work so hard.
It
or
makes
something.
you wonder if there's gonna be like, it makes me want to read the back in here too now. We're about to find out. There's an 8-second chance. There's love in here.
Oh, we
An
knew.
eligible gentleman. Then busting London.
Oh,
yep.
London, fun.
So he's gonna. Yep. Someone even said that this is the new JoJo Moyes.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh. So yeah, it's definitely probably gonna be our opinion only. This is probably gonna turn out like a Hallmark. Like it's gonna be like a really good, sweet type of
Yeah, just like a feel-good book. We all need that sometimes.
Yeah. But I don't know. After reading like the first one,
Yeah.
and then like reading this one after, like, well, which one? I feel like this one would be like a 3 out of 5.
It didn't catch my attention as much.
Yeah, and I only like kept reading because I wanted to finish the paragraph out. But it's not like, well, what's gonna need to happen next? Like I get it, but it's not like. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So far, I'm into You Lucky Dog. That's my first pick.
That's our top one right now.
But this is just first impressions, so who knows?
We might be wrong this whole time and watch somebody who's actually read the book. They're like, no,
Yeah.
you guys need to read it like all the way through.
Definitely comment and tell us if you've read these and tell us what you think. And if you've read any other books that remind you of Hallmark movies or anything, any new fiction, let us know.
That should be a total like reading list of Hallmark
definitely.
inspired books.
I think we probably can find a lot, so that'd be fun. Now we know. We'll do that. Okay, so the last one is called Aria, and it has a nice cover too.
I like the colors on this one.
Clearly have picked these ones because they have cute covers. So, and it's interesting there's like this woman in it. So, let's see. And it's the one that says something from Margaret Atwood. It says, a sweeping saga about the Iranian Revolution as it explodes, a Dr. Zhivago of Iran. It's an international bestseller. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of from a different culture. I don't see very many books from that culture. So we'll see what it's like. And it's by Nazanine Hozar. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but that's the best I can do.
Getting them wrong so
I know,
bad, and
I
I feel so terrible.
I hope that's right. Okay, so I'll read a little bit from this one. Well, and it even starts with a name I probably can't pronounce. It's Mehri. Mehri?
We'll say Mary. Well, we'll just say Mary.
Mary, yeah. Mary opened her eyes. She was lying on a mound of carpets. Does he look like his father? She asked. The old man, Karimi, was holding the baby. She doesn't know, he whispered, turning to his wife. She feels it, Fariba said, glancing at Mary. Fariba was much younger than her husband, and she was Mary's one friend. I can tell she doesn't know, Karimi insisted. Keep quiet. Are you massaging the baby like I showed you? Yes, yes. He rubbed the baby's chest and back. What have we got ourselves into? Fariba said. Keep rubbing. She grabbed a chunk of meat from the cooler and put it in a frying pan. It's for the mother, not for you, she said to her husband. She glanced back at Mary. She ruined her life the moment she laid eyes on that man. I told her to work for you here at the bakery instead, but she said she'd rather be his wife. Now look what happened. After a minute, Karimi asked, Wife, why doesn't the baby make a sound? Because her eyes are blue, Fariba said, and she's cursed like her mother. Mary had stayed, motionless under a blanket for hours. Her back against the wall, she was ashamed to look at her friend. I warned you about marrying him, didn't I? Fariba said. How many times did I say he'd beat you? At last, Fariba wrapped the baby, pressed her against her own breast, and approached Mary. Don't you want to hold her? She said. Mary said nothing. You can't pretend she doesn't exist. Yes, she's a girl, but it's not so bad. He's going to kill me, Mary said. Karimi was leaning against the wall, too, his face hidden behind his paper. But his hands trembled. They ached from helping Mary give birth, and now he was embarrassed to look at her. You know, husband, if we had a radio, you wouldn't need to read the paper. You can barely hold it up, Fariba said to him. They say there are so many things to hear on the radio, little plays. Would be nice to hear one of those. She turned away from Mary and lit a match to the coal in the stove. Karimi pushed his glasses to the tip of his nose and folded the paper. Nonsense, he said. You worry about your little radio when most of those northerners are showing off their televisions. And all those years ago, I taught myself to read. So why shouldn't I read the paper? Nobody else back then knew how to read. Not my mother, not my father. I was the only kid up and down these streets who could do it. Figured out the letters on my own. And you? What's a television? Mary asked suddenly, looking up. She caught a glimpse of the baby's hair under the light. It was a reddish-brown, like the father's. A movie screen, only smaller, Karimi said without looking up. It's small enough to fit in a room. They have them all over the North City. Masada was on one the other day. Why was our prime minister on television? To show he was alive. Somebody tried to kill him. Probably the filthy British. Karimi turned back to his paper. Damn them all. If it isn't the communists, it's the English. And if it isn't the English, it's those darn turban lovers thinking they're as good as God. If it isn't, Fariba slapped down the kettle. This poor girl nearly died tonight, and you worry about your politicians? None of your scolding in front of her, Karimi said. And damn it, nobody loves this country anymore except him. Masada is great. Great, I'm telling you. Mary closed her eyes again and pretended to sleep. This is a woman's matter, Karimi added more softly, nodding at Mary. You want the neighbors to talk? We can't keep her here. That's all right, Mr. Karimi, said Fariba. You just sit right there and drink your tea and read your paper. Just think about what your great Mr. Masada would think of you.
Okay, so did his wife have the baby?
I'm a little unclear. I think it's like a younger girl, and then she's at the house of this husband and wife.
Okay.
Is what I'm thinking. And she had a baby that's a girl, and the husband has red hair and blue eyes, but they're in Iran. And I think it's shameful somehow. And she's a woman.
It's coming off that it's shameful.
Yeah, and she's a woman, and the baby's a girl. So I think it's all shameful. From what I'm gathering.
But it seems very interesting. Like, I would keep reading just to find out some more of what's going on. Mm-hmm. Like, I would definitely do that.
And I feel like I would learn a lot more about the culture just by reading this book, even though it's like a fiction book. So I am interested. It says that the author was born in Iran. And so...
And she lives in British Columbia.
Yeah. And this is her first novel. So maybe she'll have a huge hit on her hands.
She just might. I mean, it makes me want to look into it some more.
I feel like I give it a 3.5 out of 5 coffee cups.
Like, it has, because, like, I feel like if we read more and, like, we were, like, into it, we would probably give it a little bit more, but first impression is definitely a 3.5 with potential.
Yeah, I think you'd have to get into it a little bit, but
it's not bad.
I'm thinking about it, so...
I want to try, but I mean, out of all of these here, I still want to read the Lucky Dog.
I know, I want to read the dog one. If we would have known, we wouldn't have started with it first, because now we compare them.
Yeah, pretty much. They all got compared to that one. It's like now, well, we have a standard, which is not fair.
But yeah, that's all for today with our brand new fiction. So definitely come and you can check out these books, make a library appointment, a curbside appointment, and you can even just browse around and look at our whole new fiction shelf. We have so many books and we're always changing them up.
Or let us know in the comments below if there's any new fiction that you've read that you really, really like, that you think that we should give a taste, give a little sip, and try for the next time.
Yeah. So make sure to like, subscribe, share, and definitely come back next Tuesday for more of our Lit Tuesdays where we'll read even more and have a brand new theme.
Definitely that. See you guys.
Bye.